Today we'll be speaking to Joy Rajan, advisor, mentor on smart cities, telecom, IoT, and AI. He will share his experiences overseeing some of the large projects over the years and also provide us some insights into some of the challenges that project managers face today. Can you please introduce yourself and tell us about your background and your experience in the infra and construction industry?
Great. Good afternoon. Thank you, Raghu, for the opportunity. My name is Joy, Joy Cheruvatur. I was formerly the Chief Marketing Officer for Larsen and Toubro's digital infrastructure business, what they call as the smart infra business. And before that, I was the business head for Internet of Things of one of the telecom companies in India, which is Vodafone India, which is now Vodafone Idea. Currently, I run a startup of my own, which is focused on the telecoms and Internet of Things space. I also advise startups and mentor a few startups and invest in a few startups. That's just a short intro about myself. I'm based in Bangalore.
Excellent, excellent. A little bit about Cassini and what we are doing. And Cassini is a Hyderabad-based company focused on two sectors. One is manufacturing, and the other one is construction and infra. What we call the Cassini PLM platform has two products for these two sectors. For the infra, it is project lifecycle management, and for manufacturing, it's product lifecycle management. Project lifecycle management is built on PMI standards with principles of PMBOK completely implemented in the solution. So we have taken all the best practices that PMBOK and PMI standards teach the PMP professionals and implemented a solution that addresses the challenges of project management professionals. With that, it would help us help the audience to understand some of those challenges that you have seen, whether directly or some of the projects that you have worked on, or among your other professionals in the network that have seen these challenges in managing these large-scale projects.
Okay, sure, Raghu. So what I will do is I'll say run through a list of some of the challenges that typically happen when you are a large company engaged in executing projects of different kinds at multiple sites and spread across the country or across the subcontinent. The areas of concern are not in any particular order, but I'm just listing it as they occur to mind. One is, of course, this whole aspect of collaboration, because especially large project companies typically have centralized procurement, centralized finance, centralized human resources kind of teams, while the project site is a mini operation in itself, which is headed by a project manager who may have some of these functions as sub-functions reporting to him at the site also. So there is a huge dependence on collaboration. How can, as an organization, how do you collaborate with the entire project, with all the project teams across the country, and with head office and the various functions that operate from a corporate office? So a good project management software allows space for sharing notes, for project documentation to be shared, updated drawings and things like that to be shared and stored, and helping in the whole collaboration aspect. In terms of the other asks, good visualization of data, dashboards that can be customized, reports that can be generated on demand, some of which need to be submitted to customers, in which case the customers' formats need to be respected. So, and some which should be allowed allowable for the customers themselves to pull up whenever they require. So some access to customized reports and a view of the project site from a customer perspective. If your project also involves software and digitization and things like that, then the software should also support agile methodologies. May not be relevant in a brick and mortar infra kind of project, but then agile methodologies would be an important aspect in some kinds of projects. Budget management would be a very important aspect here, because you have discretionary spending levels across the organization at various levels, and budgets need to be allocated and apportioned and tracked in real time.
Mhm.
So budget management is an important aspect as far as project management is concerned. Then of course you have the usual Gantt charts, the Kanban boards, the milestone tracking functionalities which are required. Uh, in many of these projects that we have worked on, we also have a customer who comes up with updates and ideas and enhancements and stuff like that. So we even would require a portion of the module to take care of idea management and tracking. Then, of course, the usual functionalities like managing tasks, subtasks, dependencies of various tasks on each other. We need aspects of resource management, time and expense tracking. Then, of course, the ability to handle traditional methodologies which might be specific to a particular kind of project. These are the kind of requirements. But plus, of course, the ability to import lists and data from existing files from old databases, which may be there with the customer, which may be there with your organization.
Mhm.
These are the expectations from, say, a project management perspective.
Mhm.
As a business owner, I would also be interested in the whole security aspect, and even things like the platform that we are using just now for the discussion
Mhm.
has generated a lot of, I'm not mentioning any brand names on this discussion, purely for to protect the copyright owners and things like that, but huge discussion in terms of the whole security aspect of this particular piece of software which is now being used worldwide. So as a business owner, I would be more keen to also understand the security aspects of any software that I'm using, whether it is on premise or in the cloud.
Yeah.
The ability of recovering from a disaster like the health disaster that we are going through at this point of time. The ability to
Yeah.
maintain multiple backups, but which can be in sync, so that even if one part of your organization is islanded out, it still has access to the latest version at that time, till the time it was cut off
Yeah.
in form of backups and activity and access. Ability to integrate with email, with mobile, even in the form of, say, mobile apps and things
Yeah.
like that. Some of the reports should be published and accessible even on uh, OTT, over the top services like WhatsApp. Then, of course, this whole question of how much of it should be web based, how much of it should be maintained within the four walls of my organization within on premise and things like that.
Yeah.
So these would be the concerns. So I had actually given a list of, say, project site requirements, and also a list of requirements which the owner might have, which need not necessarily be shared by the project manager.
True.
I hope I've sort of covered most of the important ones.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, from your experience, the general sense is that most projects always are either, they're delayed in terms of just time, or there's cost overruns. These are two main problems, and certainly the quality aspects of it. What are the major factors that contribute to delay in the schedule or cost overruns? Yeah, from your experience, what are the main factors?
Okay, so that's an interesting question. And if I were to look back at the various projects that I have been personally involved with, which have been mostly in the space of digital smart city projects, and also to some extent nationwide communication backbone projects, like the army network, that communication network that we spoke about
Yeah.
before we started the discussion. So, so if you look at those, I mean, there are various reasons why projects fall behind schedule, overrun the estimated cost and things like that. But some of the key contributing factors are, one is of course the difficulty or inability to get all the resources uh, to the required sites in time for in the time required when they need to be deployed. So at the beginning of the project, you'll suddenly realize that even people, which is a very important resource, you are still looking for a project manager who has that requisite skill set, because the project award specifies that, but he's still in the process of handing over another project in some other part of the country to another customer. So you will need resources to be in place. So so at the beginning itself, you could have delays in terms of positioning of the key resources which are required to execute the projects. As we go along, we see that say clearances required from customers to move from stage A to stage B, and delays in getting those kind of clearances can also introduce delays and dependencies between the various stages of the projects.
Mhm.
Planning becomes a very, very key aspect of this whole thing, and a good web software that provides the same provides one version of the truth which can be used company wide would be a very, very valuable asset. Otherwise, you have things like somebody says that I have dispatched this much material, and the project site says that you may have sent it 2 weeks ago, but we have not seen anything about it. We have not seen it, and it will simply be a thing that it has arrived, but it's still not cleared quality and things like that. So you find one version of the truth which can track every aspect or every resource to its minute details, as to if it was dispatched, has it landed, has it gone through a quality check, has it been accepted, has it been taken into stock at the receiving end, is it ready for dispersal or for utilization, and those kind of things. So you need the software to operate more at most, both at the macro level and at the micro level.
Yeah,
But these are the, say, some of the more common reasons. I'm not getting into the other things like delayed payments and stuff like that,
that's right.
but these are the more common reasons for projects falling behind schedule.
And one of the things that we constantly hear, I think you touched a little bit on this topic earlier, was the change management, which is a big challenge
Hmm.
for project managers, where maybe halfway through the project there are some changes that have to be accommodated, which may affect the overall schedule or the overall cost. That's one of the problems you can talk a little bit about, and the other one is the risk assessment. I think there are risk managers in large projects where they identify the risks in the planning stages and plan for contingencies, right? So these are the two things that we see people, most project teams are not prepared to handle, and some of the things that we are planning to introduce in our solution is to allow a smooth change management process, so that you have a clear idea of the impact of the change on the schedule and the resources, as well as the cost, and also the risk planning and the contingency plans and the plan of actions that will go along with these risks during the execution of the project. Can you talk a little bit about these two topics from your experience?
Great, sure. So when it comes to change management, from my experience, what I see is that there are some projects which are what I would call in our jargon as cookie cutter projects. That means if I need to deliver, say, a certain outcome, which is something which I need to replicate across, say, 50 sites. I need to deliver a GPON equipment which is connected back into the network and tested and shown as working, or if I need to those kind of things. So there is something where I need to deliver exactly the same kind of outcome across multiple sites, where the amount of predictability is a little higher, and where the scope of uh, change at site is very limited, simply because it is a project that is delivered across say 500 sites. Each site needs to be a replica of the other, and they all need to work to the same standards and things like that. But change management, I see more having more importance in the eventual success of the project, of its timelines and cost lines, uh, is uh, is in cases where both the executing agency, the builder or the infrastructure company, and the buyer are executing a one-off kind of project, and it's probably among the first that you are executing, you know, among the in the country and things like that. In which case, both teams are learning as they go along, and the scope for mid-course changes is higher. It
Yeah.
helps if the platform that we are using, the project management tools that we are using, can help to estimate the impact of a particular change, and get the requisite sign-offs from both the executing agency and the buying organization for the change in timelines or the change in cost lines seamlessly. If those approvals can come in seamlessly, the software would have paid for itself many times over. Change management is a pain area in most large projects,
True.
and it is more from a thing of more from an aspect of ensuring that everybody is apprised of the change.
Yeah.
Everybody operates to one set of drawings, the new drawings or the new plan that has been agreed upon, and the entire planning then changes accordingly to account for the change.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, on the risk assessment, it is. Uh, so the way I've seen risk assessment being applied, and it probably is a little crude, and software like Cassini could help to improve that whole process. Here it is more of, I expect that there is X percentage chance of this particular
True.
event happening or not happening in time, and therefore I will bump up the cost or I will pad up the timeline
Hmm.
to a certain percentage. So if I expect that it'll take, say, there's a 25% chance that some material will get delayed by say a month or so, then I would add maybe 15 days to the project timeline just to factor in a risk. A lot of it is actually done on an empirical basis,
Yeah.
uh, and and good software, good planning software should be able to take the guesswork out of it and make it more of an exact science.
Very good. Yes. Yes. Um, the other challenge that we always see, and there are, the customers that we have worked with have a process in place, is around quality management, and inspections a big part of it. What is your experience, and what are some of the challenges that you have seen on the quality management aspects, and how people go about making sure the quality of the work that is being executed is to the standards, or at least to the agreed upon standards, and the things that had to be factored in this process. Is there a quality plan planned ahead in the planning stages as to what, a checklist of things are done at various milestones? How is that process working, and what are the challenges in that process?
Great question. Yeah. So quality is one of the head office departments which also has uh, uh, a team on site that keeps monitoring quality in a real time fashion. So at least for the larger infrastructure companies, quality is taken extremely seriously, and it starts from site inspection at the vendor location when before the material is even dispatched to the project site. So the vendor factories are inspected by quality teams to ensure that the right kind of materials are being produced in the right fashion in the factories. The quality records at the factory level or at the vendor level are monitored. And then, of course, this is to ensure that the material reaches the site in the right condition and does not contribute to poor quality. Then, of course, so that is material quality. Then comes the whole aspect of execution quality. What I've seen is that when you have a very educated buyer, like the government, for instance, and if it's a large project like a smart city project, then there would be a third party consultant
mm,
team which is employed by the buyer, the government in this case, to keep track of the various aspects of quality in the execution stage.
yeah.
So 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 if you have a platform or software that is accessible to the quality inspection teams, then both quality inspection teams, now I actually have spoken about two different teams here. One is your own, the infrastructure company or the executing company's quality teams, and two is the buyer's quality teams, which would typically be a consultant or their own employees or whoever, all of them having access to the same version of truth. So if somebody says that the tensile strength of this has been tested and it is so and so, both teams need to sign up to the fact that it has been tested and they agree that this is the test result,
Mm,
and it needs to be available for review later on and things like that. So software which can actually provide that level of collaboration
mm.
uh, would help even when it comes to quality as a very important aspect of project management.
True, true. This certainly has been one of the biggest concerns with one customer that we have worked with. That customer basically they execute large projects, and about 3% of the cost of the project is spent on PMC, what they call the PMC, which is project management consultants, which
Mm,
is a third party. In fact, it's a separate tender for the PMC. It is given out to a third-party organization other than the main contractor and the oversight, which is the government organization. But the PMC organization is an independent organization. It's a separate contract to manage the project, and there are various roles in that PMC group. 3% for a large project is a big contract, but these are certified professionals, with a lot of experience on the project management side, and there are various roles in that group, and there are engineers, there are inspectors, there are domain expertise. For example, if you're building a railway network, rail work, you need to have certain level of expertise in that area. This group pretty much oversees the project management side of things, that coordinates between the oversight, which is the government organization, and the private contractor, right? So it's a third party organization that coordinates all the activities in the project.
Okay.
absolutely.
So I think, Joy, it was very good insights from you on the domain of construction and infra. Thank you very much. So in the next session, we'll arrange a product demo. Our team will show you how the product looks and how it is being operated. So I'll let you know the next. We'll schedule somewhere next in the next week so that we can give the demo to you.
Sounds good.
Joy, thank you so much for taking the time here. Certainly appreciate it, and I think a lot of the insights you have provided are useful, and certainly validates some of the things that we felt are certainly needed in the industry in terms of solutions built on a single platform, and we'll take another opportunity to demonstrate the product to you. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joy.